All right, thank you for coming, everyone. Thrilled to be speaking here today. All right, let's get started talking about natural language pattern detection. Okay, so here's the context. And just to give you a heads up, this is supposed to look overwhelming. And the context here is that how do you tell if a customer's piece of feedback is design related or related to any specific topic? We're going to use design in this example, but and if so, what design topics are relevant within that piece of feedback and how to report on them? And so the context here are 3 examples of customer feedback that just like comes in through the customer feedback system they have. They're pretty verbose. They're all over the place. We have one here that's talking about my daughter uploaded a copy of a letter. They're just, people say all kinds of stuff. And I think you can understand that if you had to read through thousands of these a month and categorize them, it's pretty terrible. And just some quick terminology here, just as we're getting started. Voice of consumer, VoC, that's essentially just means a piece of customer feedback. And then sentiment, that is a score that's pretty much either positive or negative, and it's about the semantics of a piece of text and how positive or negative it is. It can also be mixed or neutral. So negative would be like, I'm really upset. Positive would be, I'm really happy. And okay, onto the problem space. So the input we have here is you get monthly VoC Excel documents that are anywhere from about 8,000 to 12,000 rows, which is a lot. That's 8,000 to 12,000 items to read through if you're doing this manually. And the desired output here is the customer wants monthly reporting on sentiment share and topic breakdown within the relevant pieces of feedback. And so sort of our most base methodology that we're going to use here, and this is a simple way to think about it, is we're literally going to go through and scan each entry and look for keywords and phrases. They're going to be read in from a key document from Excel and then categorize them accordingly. And so in this case, here's an example that has 3 different key phrases we're interested in. You know, they're talking about the interface. They're saying it's too busy, but also saying it's not as easy to use. We're interested in all those 3 things. Is everyone with me here? Is this understand what the problem is? I'll assume a silence is a yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And just a quick overview of the toolkit I'm using here. So Excel, people have a lot of opinions about Excel, but here with the customer, it's really how they're communicating data, exchanging data, reporting on data is all happening through Excel. So for me, all the input and output is coming in.
I consider more people.
So is there a question? All right.
Now we're good.
Okay, cool. And so I'm also really big into pivot tables. So moving towards table reporting, and that's also really where the data storage is happening. It's not being stored in SQL or in a table. It's being saved in Excel spreadsheets. And then all processing is happening through Python and just notable packages, pandas, Jupyter Notebook, that's really for presentation and final execution. And then NLTK is the natural language toolkit. It's just a standard NLP library in Python. All right, here's an overview of the ETL I set up. And so color coding here is anything that's a dark blue square is an Excel doc, anything that's a light blue soft edged square or rectangle is Python. And so we can just step through this. And so the basic flow here is this monthly VoC document comes in via email. It gets fed into the Python script. First thing that happens is that the specific team at our customer, they don't manage necessarily all of their products. And so there are some feedback that's irrelevant to them that gets thrown out before any processing happens at all. And so then once we remove all those irrelevant ones, we pass it into this text processing. And this is just really some fancy cleaning and standardization to clean up all those special characters. So first we go and strip out any numerals, any special characters. Everything gets put into lowercase. And then this is the fanciest thing that's happening actually here is lemmatization to grammatical root. And that's kind of like, it's trying to find like a common grammatical root between a large subset of words. So instead of having to spell out 4 different patterns to represent 4 different grammatical tenses, it will just convert all of those into one. And so that library there has a lot of like semantic knowledge built into it that's doing that for us. And then finally, stop words get stripped out. Those are really common words in the English language. So anything like an article, like or the, or like things that don't really contribute to the semantic meaning of a text get removed. And then once that's complete, it gets passed to this stage. And this is where it gets joined up with the design key that comes in from that Excel document. And we do this keyword pattern matching against design key contents. And then that gets paired up with this sentiment that actually comes in with the report itself, that comes in with the monthly VoC, and then we report on that. And then once that's complete, this actually breaks down into 2 different tables that are each table is at there's a slightly different basis within the table, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. And then this one up here is kind of just a future one we're working on. That's a deep dive. Just a little more about the key. The key document is quite key, in fact, to this whole process. These are really dimension tables, if you're familiar with any star schema terminology. And so it's one Excel doc with 3 tabs, topic key, page key, platform key. This is just a little small sample of what the topic key looks like. So here's topic category. There's subtopics that are grouped under each topic, and then under each subtopic are specific string patterns. So you can see like usability down here, a subtopic there is easy to read, and we have to capture these different, different meanings. Like hard to read and difficult to read mean the same thing, but they're different words. And so in the interest of not reporting on each individual keyword, we have these subtopics that they roll up into. All right, and then our first output table, total VoC, was total voice of consumer, and this is important. Oh, 1 row is equal to 1 VoC entry here. And it contains all the VoC for the month. That's including design and non-design. And then I added in these columns here to facilitate reporting on it. And these are just these 2 platform page string columns and a bunch of Booleans indicating whether or not it falls within a certain topic. And then there's one that's just yes, no is design. And then VoC keywords, the key difference here is that 1 row equals 1 designed keyword mention. So if you remember in that earlier slide where there was 1 piece of commentary that had found 3 different keywords, in this table, there will be 3 rows for that 1 entry. But there's only designed relevant VoC here. So it's actually much smaller, ends up being a much smaller table. And this one drills down to the specific keyword. So you can look in this, like, and say like, oh, something's going on with easy to use this month. Like, what are the people actually saying? And they can drill all the way down and see like, oh, like whatever, we got 30 matches for difficult to use. So they can know exactly what's going on. And then this is sort of the end state here. This is an example of a reporting figure from a monthly report that the customer presents to the management team. You can see this is breakdown of sentiment just among mobile. And then they're particularly interested in the negative sentiment, the people who are upset, which as you think you can understand why. And so then this is then a breakout of those negative sentiment within the topic to say like, oh, whatever. The majority of them were, I'm sorry, these add up to 100, were about usability. And then figure 2 here, this is just trend spotting. And so these are sentiment share by platform over time. And so you can see like, oh, like, I think they launched a new initiative in February in mobile. You can see people do not like it, or people hate change. They're very upset, but you can see as it's regressing towards the norm over time, this is a very positive trend for them. They love to see that. All right, results. So the test case we had was March. And so when I was brought in, that had been already manually categorized by the team lead there using some Excel string matching. And this table is kind of a breakdown of old method versus new method. And so the results are previously they had found 525 pieces of feedback in that month related to design. With the new method, they're 9 or 15. That's 74% increase, and we've been able to add a lot more patterns in as well to search for. So that's about 6 times as many patterns searched. And then, yeah. And so I find these results to be very positive. You know, in the old method, they would have missed 390 design-related VoC comments, pretty significant amount, and they're really able now to very easily change and alter the patterns and keywords they're searching for with that key document. And then finally, next steps. As I said before, we're working on developing that key driver deep dive. And then my big thing is that none of them have ever used a pivot table before. And I'm hopefully about to blow their minds because I love pivot tables. And so I'm going to lead sort of a small education effort there to get some team members pivot table fluent so that they're able to do some ad hoc reporting on their own. And then last but not least is internal dashboarding for the design team, just so that they have a more robust internal monitoring system for this stuff, because right now there's very little like internal reporting. It's all outward facing. And so I want to, you know, put the power in their hands, as you say. All right, that's it.